Hi, Peter Charles here, Voigtländer Photography. And I thought, it'd be a good idea to do a video on my general impressions of my three Voigtländer lenses now that I've had a chance to live with them for a month or two. And I'll give you some feedback on what I felt about the photography experience. Keeping in mind, I'm not a pro, I'm just an average enthusiast. So I'm giving you the enthusiast perspective, not the test bench and the pixel peeping manic type approach to lens review. I don't do that kind of stuff. So I've got the three here. I've got the 23, the 27, and the 35. And let's just go through what I felt about them and how I like them. So we'll start off with the 23. Now, I'm going to deal with some complaints that other people have said about the 23. One of the things they mentioned is they claim it has field curvature. So that means the focus points are not linear across or flat across the sensor. There's a bit of a dip or a curve or whatever. And yeah, when you look at some test bench information, you can see it in the test bench information. The thing is, can you see it in your photos? Well, maybe that pixel peeping maniac can see a field curvature in his photos. I can't see any in mine. So for an enthusiast, I don't think there's any reason why we should look at this lens and say, oh, I'm not going to buy it because it's got field curvature. That's plain silly, I think. I mean, look, what do we do with our pictures usually? They end up on Facebook or something like that. We might make a print, but they're not going to be huge prints. We're not covering wall-sized murals with our pictures for the most part. We're amateurs. We're enthusiasts. They'll sit on my computer, and I'll put a few up on social media. That's typical of what we do with our photos these days. I might print one or two. So the field curvature doesn't matter? No. I will talk about one thing that threw me a little bit at the beginning. I missed focus a few times when I first got the lens. I'm now used to it. It doesn't bother me. But I will put the 35 beside it. And what you'll see here is that the focus distance from infinity to 2 meters is about half the throw on the 23 compared to the 35. The 35 here, it looks to be about 1 centimeter from, infinity to 2 meters, and it's about half a centimeter for the 23. So the 23 is got very, very small throw from infinity to 2 meters. So you don't have a lot of wiggle room. And for those who are not into metric, say 7 foot, okay? Infinity to 7 feet. And it's a little tiny throw. So the problem was when I first started using this lens, I missed a bunch of focusing hits in that 2 meter to infinity range because I wasn't used to that little tiny throw. Now I am. So I don't find I miss focus anymore with the thing. As far as general handling is concerned, I would have liked them to put a tab on the focusing ring. I mean, they have. For the 23, you can see, let's see if I can put it in the camera. There we go. You can see the tab there. So we have the tab on the 23, but not on on the 27, but we don't have it on the 23. We don't have it on the 35. I think that would have been handy because I've had Voigtländers in the past, M-mount Voigtländers, color scopars, and they have the tab, so you tend to work it with your finger like this. Very nice to do, very easy to do. But that's a minor complaint. I mean, lots of throw on the aperture ring, and this goes down in 1/3 stops. So that's cool, or that's useful. It's a nice firm click. I mean, not good for video, but I'm not going to be using these for video. I'm fine. And also the throw for the focus, as I say, it focuses very, very quickly from infinity to 2 meters. But after that, you've got lots of wiggle room. So you can get very precise for close in, and you can see it gets down fairly close, about a little bit over half a foot or, a little under 1/5 of a meter. 18 centimeters thereabouts. So it gets reasonably close. So it's, it's not a macro lens, but it does a decent job at close focusing. So I found overall it was a very enjoyable lens to use. It's well built, very rugged, and all the controls operate very, very smoothly. No complaints. And this film format, depth of field scale, let's clear that up. I've seen complaints about that too, saying, well, if you look at, you take a good look at them on the computer screen, you can see, at the ends of the scale, it's not sharp. This is film format. So in other words, typically 35 millimeter prints would be, 8 by 10, 8 by 12, 11 by 14. And when you're printing to those sizes, this was fine. You would still appear sharp. I mean, you throw this up on a 27-inch monitor, yeah, you're going to see it's not sharp. So what I'm recommending here is use this for things like street photography, which is what I intend to do with them. But if you want precise depth of field scale, you can turn your camera onto the pixel format for the depth of field, and that way you can get a more accurate depth of field with a preciser focus and better sharpness, if that's what you're after, by paying attention to the depth of field scale in the camera, and use this for more approximate depth of field. Especially things like street photography would be perfect. Okay, let's move on to the 27. And this is a tiny little thing, and this is going to be my primary street lens. It probably won't come off my X Pro 3 all that often when I'm out doing street photography. It, as I say, does have the tab for the focusing ring. The aperture ring, like the other lenses, lots of throw. You've got the third of a stop increments, and it's nice and wide to get a good grip on. I find I don't mistake the aperture ring with the focusing ring on this lens. I thought I would, but the tab helps me to sort that out. So you can see, let's see if I get that in the camera, you can see the tab there. Very easy to feel when you are using it. And so you don't make mistakes and grab the wrong ring. I do with the 23 millimeter and the 35 millimeter, because the aperture rings are on the front and the focusing ring is on the back, which is the opposite to the other lenses I own. I tend to grab the wrong one, but that's something you get used to as well. I will eventually stop doing that. And in fact, I'm already slowed down on doing that. I'm actually grabbing the right ring more consistently now. As far as optical performance is concerned, I have not spotted anything here that makes me unhappy. The Ultron in the Voigtländer range of lenses is considered to be a general purpose type of formula, optical formula. I quite agree with that. I go with that. It's probably not the sharpest lens they have ever made, but it's still perfectly sharp enough for an enthusiast to use. You'll be perfectly happy with it, unless I say you're one of those pixel peeping maniacs who's going to look in the itty bitty corner to see if there's one pixel that's not sharp. Anyway, I love the lens. It's going to be one of my main lenses. Something I'm going to mention about the 35 and the 23 is they seem to share a lot of components, and I think that may be the reason why the focusing difference between these two lenses, where the 35 has a lot more throw than the 23. I think maybe because they're sharing components. I've seen pictures of the 18. It looks identical to the 27. So I think they're sharing components as well. And when you look at the focusing scale on the 18, it has that same compaction that the 23 has. The 35 is a Nokton, same as the 23. These are the ultra-fast lenses, or the very fast lenses as they call it in Voigtländer. Both these lenses have the same characteristic optically in the fact that they tend to be a bit softer. 1.2 gradually improving, but that softness is across the range, so the corners are actually pretty good. And as you stop down, everything gets sharper all across the range. So you have some choices of whether you want a more subdued, more ethereal look to the photo, or you want it pin sharp. It just depends on the aperture you happen to pick. I mean, I think it's an overused term, but people talk about lenses having character. You would say that about the two Noktons, as they would be in that categorization of having character. They the ability to make a choice with your aperture and get a different look, it's kind of a nice thing, and I like it. The 35mm, what's really interesting about me using this lens is I hardly use my 35 f2 Fujifilm lens, and this thing's on the camera a lot. I've shot a lot through this. I probably shot as much in 2 months with, or a month and a half with this lens, this 35mm, than I have the entire 7 years I've owned the f2. I mean, I used it in my studio a couple of times, and I've taken a few shots outside, took it to a studio shoot, but that's about it. And that's where I want to get to, where I want to go with this discussion, is when you look at these lenses, really what you're talking about is the fun factor. And isn't that what being an enthusiast is all about? I am not earning money with these things. I'm not trying to get the absolute optical perfection to make a customer happy because, you know, they're putting it in a magazine and they want absolute perfection. That's not what I'm doing. And I just want to go out and have fun. And that's where I would say these lenses shine, because they are very enjoyable lenses to use. They're built beautifully. They handle beautifully. I mean, they're silky smooth in their operation. They're optically fine, you know, and as I say, there's that word character. They do have that. And being manual focus, you just get more engaged in your photography. And that's the reason why that 35mm has been on my camera a lot more than the very high quality Fujifilm f2 35. And I'm getting an extra stop and a bit out of this one. So there you go. That's what I feel about these lenses. I'm very happy with them. Happy to the point I've got the 18 and the 50 on order. So that tells you where I'm going with this thing. That's going to be my basic kit for my X Pro 3. It's going to be those lenses. So if you're looking for a fun lens that's optically good, and you want the manual focus experience, you want the manual operation experience, you want beautiful operation, very smooth, very well made, high quality construction, look at these lenses. I know they're expensive. They're more expensive than the autofocus Fujifilm primes. But, you know, you are getting something that's going to be quite a lot of fun to use. And in fairness, you got to compare aperture, apples to apples. They are actually a bit cheaper than some of the faster Fujifilm primes. So, you know, when you look at apples to apples, a 1.2 to a 1.2, I mean, these are in the ballpark price-wise. So give that some thought if you're interested in a manual focus lens. They are an awful lot of fun, and I love using them. Cheers.